Hello guys, it's Hafsa. So my last video was a vlog, my Eid vlog, but today I wanted to do kind of like more chill discussion type of video. We'll be talking about ancestry, genealogy, culture, all that stuff. This is something I'm really interested in, like history, where people come from. I've even attempted to make a family tree with like my 100 cousins in it because I'm scared to lose access to that genetic link, if that makes sense. And that person that plays the countries and capitals games online, like it's so ridiculous. But yeah, it's something I'm really interested in. I've wanted to do the Ancestry DNA test for a long time, but as a broke uni student, I don't know, I'd rather spend £100 on 10 meals on Deliveroo. But luckily for me, my sister has done the test, so I can kind of get an idea of what my results would be like as well. I've watched a ton of Ancestry DNA results on YouTube. I've tried to look for Nigerian and African ones, but there aren't that many of them. I do intend on taking the test in the future, so I think it'd be really nice to look back on this video and just like compare my results to my sister's. Comparing the test would also, I guess, help clear up some validity concerns people have with the test, because, you know, obviously some people think the test is a scam. What do I know about myself? I am Nigerian, born and raised in Lagos. I'm majority Hausa, like that's the language, the culture, and everything I was brought up in, and then followed by Fulani because I know some of my great-grandparents were fully Fulani. And then further back than that, there's also of Tuareg and Kanuri roots as well. So there's actually two sets of results. And why is that? The first time around, they didn't have as many population samples. Estimates were not as accurate. And the second time, they got more samples. And the more people they test, the more they'll probably be able to pinpoint geographical locations. In the first set of results, the highest percentage is Nigeria, which is 73%, and then next up is Senegal at 16%. A proportion of the Senegalese population is Fulani, so yeah, that makes sense. Next up is North Africa at 5%. I guess this can be explained by the Tuareg roots that I mentioned earlier. Next, we have the Middle East at 3%, which I would also link it to North Africa and the Tuareg ancestry. And then we have Mali at 1%. Similarly to Senegal, a part of Mali's population is also Fulani. However, some of Mali's population is also Tuareg. Lastly, we have the most surprising one. If you don't know, the Iberian Peninsula is a region that's associated with Portugal and Spain. At first, this was really shocking, but then after doing some research, it kind of makes sense because the Iberian Peninsula was actually ruled for some time by the North African Moors. It links back to what I said about North Africa. First one is still, of course, Nigeria, but only at 46%. So that's less than 50%, which is still really shocking to me. And then we have Mali, which is a high increase from the first set of results, in which Mali was only 1%. So yeah, that discrepancy is still quite shocking. Then we have Senegal at 16%. So this is the only one that didn't change. Was 16% in the first one, and it's still 16%. Next up, we have a new region that didn't show up in the first set of results, which is the Cameroon, Congo, and Southern Bantu at 8%. This is a very big region that spans literally from Central Africa to Southern Africa. And lastly is North Africa at 4%, which is similar to the first set of results, which was 5%. Not necessarily, because before the 19th century, Nigeria and many of the African countries didn't exist in the way that they did, and a lot of the borders were drawn up by European countries. At the end of the day, it's a commercial company and they know what they're doing. They know that people do feel very nostalgic about their history, so it's a little bit romanticized. definitely agree with that. Like, people always wonder, you know, where am I from? Like, where am I actually really from? What better way to find out than a literal DNA breakdown? This percent this percent that. And the more trace regions people have, you know, you feel more connected to different people all over the world. And yeah, I guess there is that element of playing on people's emotions, but people now have access that we didn't have before. I would say it has more positives than negatives. So if you got to the end, thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay tuned for when I finally do my Ancestry DNA test and compare it to my sister's. Please like, subscribe, and just let me know what you think of the whole Ancestry DNA thing. Have you done it? Is this something that you would want to do in the future? Do you think it's a scam? Thank you for watching. Bye! Bye.